Thank you for joining us for another riveting episode of Behind Breaking Bond. Joining me is Doug Griffith, President of the Houston Police Officers Union, and Andy Kahn, Crime Victims Advocate for Crime Stoppers.
Thank you. I noticed you didn't let me introduce myself, but that's okay.
Well, you
finally
figured out your name.
We actually, as you can see right here, Doug and I had to bring our own drinks.
Yes.
Because Fox won't even provide us.
It's the Fox
I
way.
learned that last time.
Right.
You know,
and I'm actually ran out of monsters, and this was all that was in the
I was going to say that's not your normal.
Yeah, you know, I'm still waiting on Monster to send me that sponsorship.
There you go.
So if you're in the comments, tell the Fox management, you know, like it would be nice if they would supply.
I'll bring that up.
Okay.
This is your first time here. What do you think?
Yes, sir. These are really
nice, huh?
Nice. Yes, sir. It's beautiful in here. Y'all have done a great job with this, and you deserve it because this episode is probably one of the most watched things on Fox other than The Simpsons.
You think so? We'll go with that.
We've almost been around as long as The Simpsons.
Seriously. You know, I thought it's been more than 4 years, right? Or it's been around 4 years.
It's been around 4 years, and if you add some of the good time credits that we get doing it.
We will be released soon, possibly, right?
Yeah, but we won't get a PR bond.
No, we will not. We will not. Andy, what are we talking about?
So, you know, we've done a couple things involving the burglary of a building cases, involving people who decided they were going to break into businesses that were all closed during the storm, shut it up, and then, you know, they come back and they look and all of a sudden, you know, they got smashed windows, property taken. I mean, I just find that so absolutely repulsive.
It's heartless.
And so I kept seeing burglary of a building on the charges, and I said, you know what? Obviously there's a trend here, so let's follow the trend. So right now we're about 50 defendants that have been charged during the declared disaster. And as I've told everybody, I said, okay, so you guys arrest them.
Yes, sir.
Great. Now the real issue is what?
What happens to them?
Exactly. And understand, in a natural disaster like this, we're already short on resources, and this just makes it even harder because this takes guys off the streets. And the poor people that own these businesses, it's even worse for them because they're going to be victimized twice. You got to think, they've got a storm damage. Now they have to deal with the damage from some crook coming in there, plus stealing their property. It's ridiculous. And I'm hoping that because of the new law and the fact that this was a natural disaster, that we can get heavier penalties and heavier charges on these guys and actually see them locked up for a change instead of more PR bonds.
Yeah.
Burglary of a building, the statute, the highest you can get right now is state jail felony, which is up
2
to
years
up
max,
to 2
right?
years in a state jail. And let's be kind, most people
Do not send.
You don't. You're going to get 6 months.
Right. You're not going to spend 2 years in a state jail.
Yeah, that's so.
If you wait on a trial, you'll get time served.
Right.
You're absolutely right on
Yes.
that. So the question is now what's going to happen moving forward with these cases? So we're going to track these cases. And I know you're going to be tracking them, right, Randy?
Yeah. Well, and like you pointed out too, Doug, I mean, you would think, I mean, as a city, we're all dealing with a hurricane. Most people don't have power. I didn't have power for a week. I mean, it was a rough time for people to go through. And for somebody to actually decide they're going to take advantage of that, that's pretty low.
Yes. And just think about this. A lot of these are not only businesses, but you also have people's homes that are being burglarized because they left to go out of town to stay safe for the storm. And now they come home to this on top of it. And it's really sickening to see that, you know, the worst of the worst in our community goes out there and would do stuff like this in a time when people are really hurting.
Yeah.
So if you're an officer on patrol, I mean, how would you get notified of
It
something
would depend because a lot of people without power, the alarms aren't going off.
Yeah.
So they're getting it the next day, or it's our proactive guys that are out there watching these businesses.
Well, that's what happened. The one that we did last week, the wig store.
Yeah.
I think it was just a matter of officers happened to sort of be there and kind of see what was going on.
Well, when we mobilize to a 12-hour shift, you got to think you have extra, manpower on the streets because you're only running 2 shifts instead of 3.
Right.
So when we do that, we obviously had more people out there. We had more people in plane cars because we're short of patrol cars. So we've got a lot of unmarked out there rolling around as well. So they can see things that you're not necessarily going to see in a patrol car. And you're going to see people acting suspicious, and they go up, bust up a window or whatever,
Right.
go in. So our guys really did a great job of going out there and targeting some of these businesses that they felt were going to be high risk for the public and for crooks.
So out of the 50, how many of them, do all 50 have an enhancement?
Well, that's the big question right now. So this is like early in the game
Right.
stages right now. So, you know, as we're going to proceed, we're going to see. I've already told the DA's office I will be more than happy to share with you
Sure.
everything that
Yeah.
we've kept track. I know they want to look at it. So it's going to be interesting to see how many of them actually do get filed with the enhanced. What the enhanced felony means is that now it gets bumped up to a third-degree felony.
And the maximum for that is?
10 years.
Right.
And I want some of these to get 10 years.
Yeah.
Especially some of the ones that the breaking bond stories on some of these
Right.
guys. We had one guy, he had 10 felony convictions. One of these
Yes.
guys who was out on 3 bonds at the time, been to prison multiple times. I'm sorry, if you are found guilty of this offense, you should get the max, and we should send a press release out saying, this is what's going to happen to you.
But you have to worry about what some of the judges are going to do, because it's not a violent crime. Nobody got hurt, although emotionally it's kind of a hurtful thing to have to go through. But you know as well as I do, a lot of these judges look at burglary and it's a deferred probation no matter how many times they've been caught.
Right. It just because it's not a violent crime does not mean that it's a victimless crime.
That's right.
It drives me nuts.
Absolutely.
This
This is one that we need to watch and make sure these judges are enhancing these properly. Look, this is supposed to be during the punishment phase, if I'm not mistaken on that. So all we have to prove is that they entered a facility with intent to steal or commit theft or assault. The charge is there. That's the easy part. Then the enhancement will come into play when we show that it's a natural disaster when they did this. And that's where the enhancement is going to come in on the punishment phase. And unfortunately, a lot of these guys are going to plead out prior to that, and they're not even going to have to deal with the enhancement part.
Right.
And that's the sad situation.
And I guess
that we're going to
that
face here.
can't be avoided, right? Or could it?
I would imagine that, in the scheme of things, it's because it's going to take a while for these cases to come to fruition.
Right.
So you've got a certain percentage right now that have posted bond. Very few of them, and I'll give the Harris County judges credit on this, very few of them were given a PR bond.
Good.
And if you did get a PR bond, it was by a magistrate. So the actual district court judges, based on what I'm looking at for those who have posted bond, it's not a PR bond.
And we've seen that a lot. I guess, what would you say, Andy, over the last year, where now that when we see a PR bond, it's more than likely a magistrate. It's not the criminal district court judge. And a lot of times we've seen instances where the magistrate will set a PR bond. Once they go into the actual court, the judge in that court will set a monetary bond rather than a PR
Yeah,
bond.
we're actually going to be highlighting one of those cases tonight where we've seen that. So, but, magistrates carry a lot of weight.
They
carry.
do.
They're the
They're not responsible to anybody. I mean,
No.
You know a magistrate?
Absolutely not.
no.
No.
They're not elected by. They don't have to answer to anyone, right? I mean, who do they answer to?
They are at the will of the Harris County Commissioners Court.
Right.
And they get to pick and choose. They have a little panel that they pick and choose who they want for these magistrates. And understand, I think this show, as well as Crime Stoppers, the HPOU, I think we've done a really good job of showcasing some of these judges. And you got to think, a year and a half ago, we primaried 6 of them.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
That really is big. That shows that we were able to put enough focus on it that people were tired of the crime.
We were on the road because,
Absolutely.
and we've talked about this many times, haven't we, Andy? Where that's never kind of been done before, where you were seeing people that were losing in the primary.
I've never, in my long, illustrious career, some might question that, very rarely do you see an incumbent judge actually being challenged in a primary within the same party.
Right.
It was like an unheard of, you're the sitting judge, you're going to be who we're going to have on the ballot, not to be challenged in the primary. So I've never seen that before until last election cycle.
But I think the pressure that we were putting on them, making sure it stayed in the forefront, people got tired of it, and their own party saw that they were a problem.
Right.
I mean, not to go to national politics, but that same thing's going on right now in the White House.
Yeah.
I mean, they see that that's a problem for them, so they have to do something. And the same thing happened here in Harris County when they realized that some of these judges, like Greg Glass, they were just horrible. They were horrible for the community. They were putting people at risk every time they made a decision on that bench. And you can't have that. We have to have people with the intestinal fortitude to stand up and do what's right and put some of these crooks where they belong, in prison.
One of the good things that happened, too, because we were keeping track of people that were killed by, allegedly, at the hands of someone that was out on multiple felony bonds. And it got up to, what, 200?
We got up to, and the big heyday was 21 and 22, where we had over 50 that fit that criteria of multiple felony bonds and or a PR bond. And that number, I mean, it dropped from the 50s to the teens.
Yes.
And a lot of it's because of, I think, the eyes of Harris County are upon everything, and also because Senator Huffman passed Senate Bill 6, which basically said no more PR bonds for any defendant charged with a violent crime. But if we don't do what we do and draw attention to this, none of this happens.
Right.
Correct.
So there's people alive today. I'm not saying that, putting us on a pedestal, but it has played a role. It has played a fact, and I think the statistics and the data clearly show that.
Well, and it had to stop. I mean, there were innocent people that were losing their lives because a judge was letting out someone.
Well, I think some of the judges got together and said, "How can we stop Randy Wallace?"
Make him shut up.
I know. We won't let these guys out on 10 bonds.
Yeah.
We can do stuff like that.
But that's the thing, though. It's sad that it had to be a group like yours or your show or the HPOU getting out in front of this and making this an issue. This should have been something they've been handling internally.
Right.
But
it was unheard of before, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You never saw anyone out on murder charges with PR bond, ever.
No.
And the fact that they went back to this and started doing this, and I think that transitions into the judges that we see here that are less likely to do this.
Yeah.
Again, like you said, the ones that are going to have to run for office, they're the ones that are going, oh, no, we can't do this. This will shine a light on us.
But when you're a magistrate and you don't have to win any kind of election, you can give anybody you want to a PR bond.
Absolutely. And we see a much higher rate of cases tossed out for no PC when there's obviously PC, but because they just disagree with it.
Right.
There's plenty of videos out there. You can just search and look, and these guys will just make up stuff off the top of their head and go, "Nah, I don't think you have probable cause," and toss it out. When, we're sitting around the officers, it's just, it's discouraging for us because we're out there trying to do it right.
Right.
We have PC. We go out and make an arrest, and they're, no PC. We're going to toss it out.
They have a lot of power.
They have a bias for whatever reason.
Right. Yeah.
If I was a Fox News reporter, I would probably.
I don't know why you'd want to be.
Definitely. Maybe they'd give me a bottle of water.
No, you see me with the water.
They would give us a fancy office like this.
That's right.
This is true. I would ask for a list of all magistrates with their picture. I think it's something the public should want to know, and I think it's a survey. We're paying their salary, right?
Right.
I think you would want to know who is kind of the beginning gatekeeper that makes these decisions.
And they're back. I mean, how long have they been practicing law, and what? I mean, how did they get picked in the first place? I guess is my question.
And what's really,
I'm guessing a lot of it is based on, well, so-and-so's my bud, and I went to school with so-and-so, and so-and-so's my friend. Am I right?
That would be my guess.
Right.
I mean, I've never seen a job posting for a magistrate, so I wouldn't know what the criteria is for that.
Right.
But I will say this, and it's something that's important to note. These magistrates hide behind a wall of silence and obscurity because you don't get to go sit in their courts.
Right.
These are the hearing courts that you never get to sit there and know what's going on unless somebody happens to video it and they release it to the media. And that happens very, very rarely.
Well, it's just the defendants that are in the court. It's not open for, I don't know. You could probably make the argument that it's open court. I want to set in, and I don't know if they could stop you.
Well, it's inside the Harris County Jail. So
Well,
to
that
get
could
in
stop
there,
you.
it might be a little harder than you think.
Let me in the jail so I can go to probable cause.
Yeah.
But that's a good point. I mean, it's not like a
regular court.
Yeah, exactly.
That we have been tossed out of before.
Right. Maybe a few times.
Maybe.
Andy, let's talk about
So, what do we got tonight?
Ginger.
Ginger. I'm sorry when you think of the name.
And not Ginger from Gilligan's
Not the
Island.
Gilligan's
Not that
Island.
Ginger.
It's probably nobody even knows who Ginger is from McGill. So Ginger Williams or Ginger Ingram, and there's another alias that she goes by as well. She's got a rap sheet yay long, habitual drunk driving, got 5 DWI convictions, and as we all well know, that's just the times you were caught.
Last week, she rammed into some Precinct 4 patrol cars.
3 of them.
3 of them.
I mean, how do you do that? Do you
Special skills. Special skills. That's all I can
do you have
say.
any idea? I mean, what is it like bumper cars? You go.
She was going so fast it just shoved one into the other, I believe.
Yeah.
Because I saw some pictures. One was sideways with the SUV was shoved into it, and it was shoved into a third car. So
A
the
domino
impact,
effect.
yes, the impact was obviously very severe. And I'm just glad that the officers made it out alive.
So she was actually just removed from. She got a 7-year probation for DWI, and keep in mind she'd already been in prison for DWI. So I'm of the perspective that if you've already made it to the big house for a DWI,
Yeah.
that perhaps the following DWI you might want to go back, because
I mean,
instead of getting
it's
probation,
been like decades, right, that she's been driving drunk, allegedly been driving drunk.
Oh yeah, there's the rap sheet is long. I think it's right here.
So yeah, we start
See,
off
98 DWI.
So a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
We got a quarter of a
2024.
century of offenses, and she's been in prison only one time for DWI, and that was just for a few years. Everything else had been.
But she has been in
right.
jail many
Many times.
Yes.
10 months, 8 months, 90 days, 2 years.
But then by her record, she basically gets out and then does it again.
Yeah, she obviously hasn't learned her lesson.
Right.
But on a positive note, they did remove her guardian interlock in May of 24.
Explain that one.
I guess she was her probation was up or something.
Yes, so they
Yeah.
removed and here's another catch. While on probation, she had multiple motion to adjudicate her guilt file because she had violated her probation conditions.
And explain to folks that don't know what that is.
What?
Motion to adjudicate guilt.
MAG. Mine doesn't have an A at the end of it. Motion to adjudicate guilt. Basically, if you're used to be, there's 2 forms of probation. There's actual probation and deferred adjudication. Most defendants these days are getting deferred adjudication.
Almost everyone does.
I very rarely do I see a straight
Right.
regular
It's almost
probation.
always deferred.
And that means if you screw up your probation, that this can be brought before the judge. The district attorney's office can file a motion to adjudicate.
You face the maximum
You
sentence
face the
that
maximum
you
a sentence, and this is a 3rd degree, so anywhere from 2 to 10 years. If it's the 1st degree, 5 to 99. So basically, you can get hammered. That's kind of the carrot that hangs over you. If if you're back before the court and you violate it, we can send you to prison for eternity.
How often does it really happen, though, is my question. I'd say very rarely. And look how many times you see someone on deferred and they screw up and nothing happens to them.
Right. They'll get another deferred.
Right. And if you successfully complete your probation and you get deferred, that means you can honestly say you had no final conviction. It's still on
still
your
show up as a
record as far
charge,
as it will appear unless you get it expunged.
Correct.
Right. So again, here you have someone who's been to prison for a DWI, yet gets another felony DWI and gets probation. I mean, I don't know
I can't understand how that happens, especially when you hit 3 marked patrol units with their lights on. I mean,
So-
Now, did she get something for that?
No. So she was on probation, and she had just completed her probation. So now she's charged again.
Right.
by ramming into three of the constables' cars, and obviously was deemed to be intoxicated and all sorts of things. So what kind of caught our attention and Constable Herman's attention was that when she was booked in, she was given a PR bond by a magistrate.
How do you give somebody like that a get out of jail free card when you've destroyed three?
With
Hey, those cars are expensive too. We can't
Yes.
even get them right now. So.
Right.
with the rap sheet yay long. And so I'd say fairly quickly the actual elected judge got a hold of this, brought her back, and essentially revoked the PR bond, and now her bond is set at $50,000, which she hadn't made.
What court was it?
Where's the court? This is the 488th. So that must have been one of the new courts that
Yeah.
one of the new courts that the governor
Right.
Abbott appointed. One of the judges. So I don't know if it's something that maybe Constable Herman or myself might have put up or whatever happened.
At
They
least-
did they did the right thing, because you shouldn't be getting a PR bond. You're a threat to society. You're a menace. You're a public safety
And
risk.
again,
Well, this is the funny part. She just got arrested for DWI on the 4th of March, and then turned right around in July.
Yes.
yeah.
So here's the PR bond. Here you
She's
can
not
see.
gonna. I mean, and this is another thing too. When you look at this and you look how she's been treated at times in the court system, look at what an issue drunk driving is for Harris County.
Absolutely, we lose people every day in this county.
I mean,
with
don't we
DWI.
lead the nation in DWI
I believe we do.
related deaths?
It's close. If it's
Yeah.
not number
We're
one,
up
we're
there.
close. Yes, absolutely.
So again, this you had the opportunity to say you're a public safety risk. That's fairly obvious. I mean, we're looking at your history. I mean, smashing into three patrol cars in itself. I mean, you come up, they run the test. I mean, they got alcoholic beverages that are in the vehicle
Yeah.
in itself. So I don't know how you can justify saying, okay, we're just going to let you walk out the door and come back to court. This is a recipe for disaster, and someone could have paid the price. So thankfully, the elected judge did the right thing, and like we alluded to earlier, we're seeing more and more of that.
Yeah.
Well,
So
and again, I'm gonna go back to this question. If she was arrested 3/4 of 24, then why in May did they allow her to take her?
well, I think she was arrested for the motion to adjudicate, and then they are allowed. That's right, because they
Gotcha.
had her a motion to adjudicate, and then she was given a PR bond on that, and then they eventually dismissed the motion to adjudicate.
Which you
So-
have to wonder why that happened.
Right.
Right? I mean, she should have at that point, if they would have gone through with that, put her in prison, it wouldn't. What happened last week wouldn't have happened.
Well, she failed to report. She failed to submit a urine sample, and there were other, technical violations.
And what are
as
you
well.
telling people that are on probation when they have all of these violations and yet nothing is done to them? Aren't you basically telling them to do what they want to do?
Absolutely. I mean, you have no ramifications for your actions.
Right.
We have to start holding people accountable.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to hold us accountable. We hold ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
I believe we do a very good job of that. Just like you, if you had bad reporting, somebody'd be on you.
Don't you know it?
You'd be responsible for that. We need to do the same thing with these criminals. Everybody wants to make them out as victims. After your third, fourth, fifth time, you're no longer a victim.
Right.
You're a crook, period. And she needs to be somewhere where she can get help where they force it upon her. Because obviously while she's out, she's not getting any help.
Right.
And so if you lock her up, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in prison,
That'll sober her up.
sober up quick.
Yeah. Yeah, and this attitude that everybody can be rehabilitated, it's pie in the sky, I think.
Absolutely.
What is? Hey, I got a question. It says right here, defendant refused the OLS. You know what that is?
That's the
Stumped you. I
Yeah.
have no
OLS.
idea what O. That is an O, right? So they popped her, and her husband was like unconscious
In the car with
in
him.
the car with her. So he gets knocked out. Airbag. I mean, everything gets.
Did he get a charge?
No, because he's just the passenger. She was the one driving. So
That may be what the county calls their field sobriety.
Yeah.
FSTs or something like that.
so
like we call them
Ginger
FST.
Williams is back in custody.
Thank
We will
goodness.
be keeping track and seeing if she remains in custody. So tonight on whatever cell block, Ginger,
Shout out to Ginger.
you have no idea what's going to happen in about 6 hours,
Right.
but it's going to happen.
Hey, I want to thank everybody for watching. We're out of time. Remember to be kind to yourself and everyone else. Thank you for